Anyways, let's move on to the next subject, shall we? Assassin's Creed Shadows. Delayed. Again. To be honest, I don't think it had a fighting chance or so for it to survive in February because of Monster Hunter Wilds, Yakuza like a dragon, like a pirate, and then you also have Kingdom Come Deliverance. You had fucking Avowed also coming out on that month too. So it was kind of like, and plus also all the negative press or so about Assassin's Creed Shadows, definitely not the greatest. So let's take a look and see what is there gonna be a new release date, or is it not planned yet, you know?
One, it's Endymion, and I've gotten some more insider scoops on Ubisoft in regards to Assassin's Creed Shadows, and there's been some more public updates in terms of what's going on with this dumpster fire as well that I'll cover here too. I'll also dip a bit into Spider-Man 2 news, but this is mostly a Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed video.
I just want the
Okay,
Assassin's
let's
Creed
begin.
stuff, that's
I
about it.
reported a plenty already. I told you how Yasuke was allegedly based on the Black Lives Matters protest, and how Skull and Bones costed upwards of $850 million to make over 10 years, and yet it still failed. To put it simply, Ubisoft is not in a good place at all right now. Now there's been some more information I've been given that I found pretty interesting. To start, I was given a call script from someone who works at Ubisoft showing how Ubisoft wants their employees who work at their call centers to answer the questions. These call scripts are not uncommon to be used at pretty—
True, because it was during what was it? It was during the Xbox. It was during the Xbox partner showcase that we were looking at, and then they showed all of the games that like the announcements for some of these games coming out in February. It was kind of like, damn, it's looking kind of tough or so for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't know if Assassin's Creed Shadows is gonna do really well or so in February.
much any and all call centers.
You know the funny thing about it too? Sorry for pausing a lot and everything. The funny thing about it, number one, right? This was just my theory, right? This is just a theory, okay? They wanted to release Assassin's Creed Shadows on Black History Month, which is February. And since Yasuke is black, they're basically using, the Black History Month to kind of like protect them. And then also on top of that, it was being released on Valentine's Day. So you can gift your lover the Valentine's gift they ever wanted or so for fucking Assassin's Creed Shadows. You can give it to your boyfriend for them to play on Valentine's Day. Ah, ain't that so sweet and adorable?
Their company approved answers to what the company assumes will be the most often asked questions by their consumers. Like if someone asks, hey, what comes in the package for this item if I buy it? The employee can then just read the description via the call sheet word for word, and then that way the customer is left satisfied. Anyway, like I said, Ubisoft allegedly now has a new call script that they sent out to their employees that work with ensuring their customers' feedback and concerns are addressed accordingly. This particular call sheet is designated at Assassin's Creed Shadows itself. So before I read some of it, when you see how the customer asks the questions, it's very HR approved and whatnot, but it's designed that way on purpose to give these employees a roundabout way of knowing when and where to use these answers. Okay, let's begin reading it. The first part has to do with if the caller asks about the release date or game features of Shadows. The caller would say, when is the game coming out, and are there other features related to Yasuke? If the customer asks about release dates or anything info game related to Yasuke, the employee would respond with this via the call sheet. The official release date for Assassin's Creed Shadows is March 15th, 2025. In addition to Yasuke, the game will include various side quests that explore different aspects of his life and relationships with other characters. Would you like any further details on the game's features or the pre-order options?
So it's coming out in March 15th? Whoa.
Already we got some new info here, March 15th, 2025 as a potential release date. I asked my source about this further. They said it's a placeholder date as Ubisoft currently doesn't believe they will be able to hit their February 2025 release date. Remember that there's a strike going on right now with around 700 employees across France and Italy. We don't know if it's still going on 100%, it was planned for only 3 days, but this definitely impacted things for obvious reasons. Regardless, as I'm told, March 2025 is a placeholder date. It'll be the next date they will announce if February can't be hit. But keep in mind, this date could change as this date currently is from the script that isn't 100% finalized yet. So it could release even further on in the year for all we know. Next, the call script tells the employees what to say. If the caller asks about Yasuke not being historically accurate to the game, to which the employee operator is meant to say this. Caller, I've read some claims that the portrayal of Yasuke in the game is not historically accurate. How do you respond to that? Operator, I understand your concern and it's great to see players engaging critically with the narrative. While we aim for historical authenticity, some creative liberties are taken to enhance the storytelling.
They should release it on April 1st.
Feedback from our community as it helps us to improve our
You know what?
projects.
That would be funny, to be honest.
Our goal is to honor Yasuke's legacy while providing an engaging gameplay experience. Is there a specific aspect of his portrayal you'd like for us to address?
I think that would be the greatest time or so to release it on April 1st.
Company to not exactly give clear answers to your questions,
April Fools,
but just kind of sideline them with half answers. It's typical corporate.
We're gonna find out if it actually does well in March, to be honest.
Next, the call script details how to respond if someone is dissatisfied with Yasuke's representation in the game, to which the operator will then say, Caller, I feel like Yasuke's character doesn't get enough development compared to others. Why is that? Operator, thank you for sharing your thoughts. We strive to create a diverse cast of characters, and we understand that expectations can vary among players. Yasuke.
What do you mean a diverse cast of characters? They're all Japanese. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean as in like diverse cast of characters? I'm like, I don't understand about that. Creative liberties? They use a completely fictional character made up by someone else who was proven it was made up. Yeah. Look, if a train wreck is gonna happen, embrace it. I know they're really trying to delay this game to try to salvage it. I'm just like, it's already becoming a train wreck. Just let it happen. You know? Just let it happen. It's gonna fall apart whether you like it or not. There's no way of you changing it unless like you're willing to change about like 80%, 90% of the game in total, you know?
His storyline is designed to explore his unique experiences, and we are
it's salvageable. You just need the right people for it.
Continuously working to ensure
Ezio in Japan.
Your feedback is invaluable, and
that would be crazy in my personal opinion. Add Ezio in Japan? That would be crazy.
We'll take it into consideration as we continue to expand the Assassin's Creed universe. However, this next part I'm about to show you is where things get very interesting. Ubisoft then details what operators should say if a caller asks why did they choose Yasuke over a Japanese protagonist. The reply then says, Caller, why did you choose to feature Yasuke instead of a traditional Japanese character in the game? Operator, that's a great question. We wanted to highlight the diversity of historical narratives and bring attention to lesser known figures like Yasuke who played significant roles in history.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He what do you mean played a significant role in history? What are you talking about? What? Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. That's crazy. That is crazy. How would you fix it? I would bring in a Japanese person and then change Yasuke into a different position. Make it as a side quest. Maybe make him as a villain character, you know? Or something or so like that, you know? Just imagine if they just necromancy Ezio to add nostalgia. That would be funny, to be honest. Now you get both black dude and an Italian dude in Japan. Let's go! Diversity! I think a few of my brain cells popped hearing that. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm shocked or so to hear that, to be honest. That he played a significant role in history? No, he did not. No, he did not.
By featuring Yasuke, we aim to explore themes of identity and belonging in a rich cultural context. Our goal is to provide players with a unique perspective that reflects the complexity of history. We believe that Yasuke's story adds depth to the game and contributes to a more inclusive representation of the past.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Oh my god, dude, what am I listening to? What is this?
Yeah, this part is a big reason why I wanted to share this with you guys, because what the fresh hell is Ubisoft talking about here? They want to explore themes of identity and belonging in a rich cultural context. So they openly...
Dude, Japanese culture is so rich. It's like one of the most, it's like literally one of the most beautiful cultures to like read about and like understand, you know? Like even my grandma on my mom's side, on Mama Azathoth's side, like told me about, you know, some aspects of Japan because she grew up over there. Granted, she died at a, you know, when I was a super young age, right? I only remember a little bit of the stuff, but not everything. But you know, like she told me a lot of things or so, you know, and I learned how to do like a little bit of like, I don't really remember too much about it because for some apparent reason most of my memories feel fuzzy now, but I do remember that she taught me how to do like tea ceremony stuff, you know, how to make tea and, you know, what to do or so and all this other stuff and everything like that. Like she taught me how to do some of that stuff, you know. She taught me a few words, not a whole lot, to be honest. Because she was like the only person I spoke to in fucking broken Japanese. It was like pretty broken. It was like very, very, very broken Japanese. But really? Really? So what Ubi is saying is that a black man made Japan, so we the black delegation can claim Japan. Apparently he played a more significant role. He played a more significant role in our diverse history and culture of all perspective reflexive of complexity of history. Apparently.
Admit in their call script that they put Yasuke on purpose to pander and...
What's it like speaking broken Japanese? She had a tough time trying to understand. Well, not really a tough time, but my grandma was making fun of me.
explore his identity within Japanese culture because he's black. Also, this doesn't really make any sense. Highlight the diversity of historical narratives and bring attention to lesser known figures.
The only complexity
like
I'm seeing is an entire dev team of white dudettes thinking they can rewrite history. But isn't it like mostly female or so that works at Ubisoft? Isn't there like a group photo with like a bunch of females or something like that? I wonder how many people will call / email Ubisoft now, get those answers in the replies, and then just tear apart their explanation. It's weird. It's so funny because they literally like want to do authentic history, historical authenticity, but literally everything that they have shown, everything about the history of Japan and the history of what they've done or so is incorrect. Also, number 2, they literally said they don't want to do Assassin's Creed in Japan because they said that it is boring to do. That's literally is what they said. They never wanted to do Assassin's Creed in Japan because they literally said that it is boring to do. You have to be the most craziest motherfucker to ever say that on the goddamn planet to think that doing Assassin's Creed in Japan is boring is the most wildest take I've ever... That is literally the most wildest take I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know who said that specifically, because I forgot about the video specifically, like who said it. But literally someone literally said on the Ubisoft team or so that making Assassin's Creed in Japan would be the boringest thing for them to do. It is wild, to be honest.
Setting that they're not from on purpose. This backs up what I was told about Ubisoft's decisions back in 2020. that they heel turned the entire game's direction
Hey,
during
Bat,
the
how you
Black
doing there,
Lives
hon?
Matter
Welcome.
protests and decided to implement Yasuke in order to pander to what they believed would become the dominating social zeitgeist, if you will, for the next decade or so. Basically, Yasuke was implemented by Ubisoft to capitalize on the social causes created by the 2020 Black Lives Matter movement. You think you hate some companies, but you really don't hate them enough. The worst part of this call script here is that they say Yasuke was implemented to...
Oh yeah, also his feet, you saw him where he stomped his feet on his neck or his face or his back of his head or whatnot. His foot literally went through his foot literally went into the body or so.
The worst part...
There you go, see?
Part of this call...
Look at that. His feet, you can literally see it right here, chat. His feet is literally inside his head. You see that, chat? It's not even resting on top of the back of his head. It's literally resting inside his body. I pre-ordered the most expensive version of this game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll play it, but I'm gonna make so much fun of this game, to be honest. I'm gonna make fun of this game like no tomorrow. This game is terrible, to be honest. Also, thank you for the follower, so welcome. The worst thing that collab, dude, is being hunted by the Japanese Historical Society for having just a stinkier about Yasuke. He literally make that shit up, to be honest.
The script here is that they say Yasuke was implemented to contribute to a more inclusive representation of the past. That sentence is genuinely baffling, and I am shocked.
We'll see how Ghost of Yote handles, to be honest. It'll be interesting to see.
Shocked that it made it past Ubisoft's higher-ups and their HR and PR teams into this prototype script. Maybe once this video goes live, they will see this and then change this.
It's Ghost of Yote, as much as like people saying like, oh, it's woke, there's a girl in it, you know. At least it's going to be way better than, you know, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like 100%, you know. It's gonna be way better.
Specific part of their answer because it's absolutely ridiculous, and I'll tell you why. So I don't mince words here, and so everyone understands what exactly is inclusive representation.
Who knows? Maybe Ghost of Yote is woke. Let's say, for example, it is woke, right? The problem is, right, the one thing I believe that Sucker Punch Studios is going to do a good job with Ghost of Yote, right, is because they're putting their title on the line. So basically, you know how like in WWE SmackDown, you know, basically I'm just kind of referencing from WWE. They're putting their title of being ambassador to Ghost of Tsushima, right? Because of how well Ghost of Tsushima was, you know, represented or so in historical accuracy and everything, right? They're going to be doing it for Ghost of Yote. So they're going to be putting their title back on the line again to knock it out of the park the second time. And if they don't, if they fuck it up, they're gonna have problems with not just the world, but Japan itself, you know. So you think the world has, you know, a big wrath? Oh man, you don't want to tick off the Japanese people. You really don't want to tick them off or so, especially with their historic accuracy and, you know, and all this other shenanigans of you saying, oh yeah, it's historically accurate, but then you find out that there's a lot of things wrong with it, then you're gonna have problems with the Japanese people.
Representation. According to Google, it means representation is inclusive here in the sense that those who are represented adopt a language.
This is, sorry for pausing so much, but this is the reason why that I think that Ghost of Yote will do good. I'm Japanese. I'm only a small part of Japanese, unfortunately, so. But I mostly grew up Hispanically, so like I don't disown my Asian side. But I was mostly raised Hispanically, so that's just the only difference, you know.
That is not their own, but which nevertheless allows them to make their views heard in the political arenas from which they were excluded. So Yasuke was implemented by Ubisoft within Shadows because they wanted that era of history to be depicted through the eyes of someone who would be an inclusive figure within the historical context.
I'm from Okinawa.
To put
Ooh, Okinawa is very pretty, actually. I wanna visit Japan one day. I think I'm gonna be honest with you. I think your culture is really cool. So I really do like the Japanese culture. Like honestly, it's such a beautiful culture at the end of the day.
Put this into perspective, it would be like making a
Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. It's a perfect culture, because there's no such thing as a perfect culture. You know, because I know there's some people who like to twist my words and everything like that, right? But it's a very beautiful culture at the end of the day.
other game set during the French Revolution, like in Assassin's Creed Unity, if you will. But instead of following an actual French character with ties to that moment of time, they instead made a random Chinese character the main character. Because this way, you're seeing the French Revolution through the eyes of what Ubisoft and their partners believe would be an inclusive viewpoint over that of a native one. So they pretty much confirmed that they went with Yasuke on purpose because of what his presence means for the game and its narrative going forward. They had no interest in depicting a Japanese Assassin's Creed game solely from the perspective.
I'll be honest with you, I just want to buy clothes from Japan. I want a new wardrobe. I really do, to be honest. I really want a new wardrobe. I want something cute from Japan, you know? So the first thing I'm gonna do when I go to Japan is just go clothes shopping.
Perspective of native Japanese people. Instead, they twisted and pulled every lever they could find in order to ensure this game could be used as a social message to promote inclusivity and representation.
Sorry, I'm a girl, okay? Sorry, I want to do some fashion stuff. My fashion is terrible. I'm still wearing high school clothes, okay?
Representation within a setting that had basically zero mentions of said inclusivity.
I would love to wear a kimono and take a picture, you know?
Existing or being relevant to the
I would
actual
love that,
historical
actually.
context of that time period. Because remember, based on the only actual records we have of this Yasuke character, he was
I would take
brought
plenty of
by
pictures
Jesuits
for
to
it.
Japan as a slave. He was then bought by Oda Nobunaga, who then called him Yasuke, and then made him carry tools and forced him to dance like a pet for Oda's guests during parties. Oda then died by
That would be nice,
seppuku
too.
after Akechi Mitsuhide, his general, betrayed him, and then Yasuke was then caught by Akechi and
But I wouldn't go to Japan by myself. I would go to Japan if, number one, I know somebody from over there, or number two, I would come with a friend, and that's pretty much about it. So I wouldn't go by myself. I would probably bring, you know, a friend, or if I know somebody from Japan personally, that would be, you know, that's what I would do. So
then given back to the Jesuits, never to be heard from again. Objectively speaking, based on what we actually have,
I have
on this
high
supposed
school clothes
historical
from
figure,
the Outer
he
Realms. That's what I
genuinely
still
accomplished
wear.
nothing of resonance within Japan before he just disappeared forever. He didn't fight anyone, he didn't own a castle or anything, and he certainly was not an actual samurai in a full suit of armor, you know, acting out Oda's wishes. Clearly, based on his actual historical info that we have to work with, Oda likely saw Yasuke as more of a pet, if you will, than an actual person. I hate to say it that way, but that's how it was. We can't mince words or attempt.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, chat told me that, like, they were trying to scrub Yasuke's skin or so, and it wasn't coming off because they thought he was dirty, but then they found out that that was his actual natural skin tone. Like, apparently that was also part of the actual historical lore, apparently, with good old Yasuke.
To act like we have to apply current day 2024-esque racial policies onto a time period when such concepts and laws were clearly not in effect during that time. It would be like going back to when slaves were owned in America and then saying that we need to expose them on TikTok for being racist. It just doesn't make any sense, and that argument or solution has no basis being included in said argument or time period. For obvious reasons, as you know. That being said, that's essentially what Ubisoft has done here pretty much. They took someone who objectively did nothing but get caught and then bought by a Japanese guy, then got caught by another Japanese guy, and then got brought back to the Jesuits and then turned them into a samurai master superhero all of a sudden for inclusivity reasons.
I know, that is pretty
This
funny
is
in
all
my
done in
personal
order
opinion,
to,
you
like
know?
I said, inject
That they try to
2024
clean him up,
modern inclusive
basically.
talking points and virtue signaling into a period of time when such things clearly did not exist.
I do have to say, it's pretty
like
funny,
if someone
though.
someday wrote
You know,
a
you
story
can't-
where
you
two
cannot
women were
laugh at that,
openly
to be
lesbian
honest.
in America during the 60s. And they also didn't hide it, yet no repercussions were placed upon them either. Such a story would make no sense.
Like, to be honest, I have no problem for the female Assassin's Creed girl here, Naoe. I have no problem. I just wish I just wish there was just a male Japanese samurai, you know? I would have preferred, that actually, to be honest. I think it would have been cool. I don't know. And then Yasuke can probably be like, I don't know, maybe a side quest, or maybe he plays a villain or something. I don't know. Something different, something cool, you know?
In terms of believability, especially if they weren't hiding it, because gay relationships were outlawed in most places only until mere decades ago, especially in America. What I really dislike about this way of storytelling is that these writers and companies are taking what are clearly stories that exist within one specific cultural context, and then they are stripping it of said nuance and believability, and then replacing it with current day nonsense. It doesn't really work because not only is it not believable, it is just simply not true. Like the lesbians in the 60s, they would be socially outcasted and have whatever jobs they did have taken from them. They would be made examples of because during that time, such relationships were obviously not allowed. Between women or men, by the way. For example, in Canada, you could tell a lesbian love story in the 60s as long as it was post 1960s.
Yeah, because granted, right, there's not really much, like, information of Yosuke, right? But, yeah, you can take some creative liberty, but to make him into a samurai, though, would be kind of, like, a little bit crazy. I think me personally, like, I would make him probably like a side quest that kind of like affects the main plot or something, right? You know how like in Black Ops 2, if you save a certain character or so, or do a certain way or something, it kind of affects the main story. Like that's basically what I would do. It's basically like the Witcher 3 kind of way or so, right? When like there's some side quest or so that kind of affects the main story. Like I would do something like that with Yasuke. And I would like, I don't know, I'd probably make him a villain or something. I think it would be pretty cool. I think, you find him as a boss or something like that, Like I said, right, there's not really much information about it, but I would still keep him as the retainer that he was, he was assigned for,
67 if they were open about it. Because by that point, Bill C-150 had already passed that decriminalized and allowed same-sex activity in public. However, if you're able to tell that story in America during the same...
Because, they made the Pope a bad guy that does, like, magical, mystical shit. So, and I think one of the most recent Assassin's Creeds, you fight against, like, a fucking giant or so in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then I think you fight Anubis or something in the Egyptian version? That would make Man a Ronin. That would be pretty cool too as well, because there's also like different medias or so that he's like some kind of Ronin, some kind of like wandering samurai, of Yosuke. I think that would be pretty cool too as well, because there's not really much information about it, about him specifically.
In time, it would not work. Because in America anyway, prior to 2003, same-sex couples being open about it was looked down upon or even considered unlawful or illegal in about 14 different US states, and even places like Puerto Rico at the time too. Why I'm telling you all of this is because these things genuinely matter, if and when you want to go back and tell stories during such time periods. Having Yasuke being implemented in this role that he was not in during this time period is not being done for historical reasons. It's simply being done to pander to current day nonsense by sacrificing the historical context around that same time period. Could Yasuke have been allowed to walk around in Japan during this time? Yes, technically.
Yeah.
Oda died in 1582, which is right around the time when Yasuke would have been sent back by Akechi to the Jesuits. However, let's say if Ubisoft or any other decided to tell a story about a foreigner in Japan post 1600 to around 1868, it would then not make any sense. Because during 1603 to 1868, Japan was under a foreign policy law called Sakoku, which meant chained country. It was a law brought into fruition that did not allow anyone from the outside world to enter Japan or have relations such as trade either. It was also forbidden for Japanese people to leave their home country as well during this time too. So you see, the more you look into the actual historical context of the world, there's so many laws and regulations of what could or couldn't happen during these time periods, and it's important if you want to tell an authentic story during these times. I don't know how far Shadow's story goes yet, but if it ends anywhere near 1603, well, then we're gonna have a problem with Yasuke still being allowed in Japan, but I digress. It just saddens me that Ubisoft took what could have been a very interesting setting for a Japanese Assassin's Creed game like this,
Oh, definitely,
and
100%.
just effectively doomed it into oblivion, all because some liberal arts weirdos there wanted their Black Samurai game during a time that didn't have it or even mention said historical figure to even engage in such acts. It would be like making a movie about Cleopatra, but they depict her as some kind of military genius who won wars, when in reality that wasn't even the case, and she actually left any actual war efforts during her time to her male counterparts instead. I really dislike this twisting of history that a lot of people are doing at some of these companies. It's so moronic, and it just shows that deep down they don't actually care about history or the importance of authenticity when it comes to these stories that they want to tell. They just, quite literally, want to put a chick in it and make her lame and gay, or in this case, put a black samurai in it because it'll make their ESG score go burr, I guess. And damn, I ranted for a while here about this part. I still got more of the call script to go, so let's look at that too. As you can see, they lie further in this third part, where the Ubisoft operator is meant to tell the caller that Yasuke was a skilled warrior and samurai during this time, but again, that's not true at all.
No, he wasn't.
The guy never fought in any battles, he just carried tools. Yet again, more creative liberties are being taken.
He is depicted as a skilled warrior and samurai who plays a crucial role in the storyline. His unique background as an African man serving under a Japanese warlord adds depth to the narrative. Would you like to know more about the storyline or abilities in the game? No way, dude. Actually, no way.
Taken here solely to push inclusivity during a game set in historical reality. Then there's this part of the call script that lies to the caller again, where the caller asks about Yasuke's historical background during the second half of the script. And the operator is meant to say that Yasuke was a real person who arrived in Japan during the late 16th century, that he served under the famous warlord Oda Nobunaga and is often regarded as the first foreign samurai. His story is woven into the game's narrative, offering players a unique perspective on this fascinating historical figure. He wasn't a samurai. Again, they're lying, and they're now making their call operators.
No, he was a
lie to
retainer.
customers
That's what
too.
he was.
Hate it here, man. But this is why I gotta do these videos, because otherwise the lies just run rampant like this.
Dude, there's so much contradiction in this like entire statement. They keep backpedaling and say, no, we're not doing historical accuracy, you know, we're taking historical liberty, you know, and then they say it again. It's like, oh yeah, we're doing historical accuracy. I'm just like, pick one. Fucking pick what you're doing with this game. Like, seriously.
Yet again, in the final part of this call sheet, like here, I'll just read it to you, and you will know exactly when this turns sour by listening. If the caller asked why Naoe was chosen as a character instead of a male shinobi, caller, why did you choose to feature Naoe as a female shinobi instead of a male character? Operator, we wanted to create a diverse and inclusive narrative that reflects the complexities of history, including the stories of women who fought against societal norms. By featuring Naoe, we aim to showcase her unique perspective and the strength.
This is the problem. This is a very wrong way to use a female in a story, you know? This is literally this is the most incorrect way to write a female character, you know? Like, for me specifically, when I write female characters, there is zero politics or zero fucking like inclusivity, you know, in my shit, you know? For me specifically, I'm like, yeah, it's cool. You know, when I make stories, I'm like, yeah, she's cool, you know? That's it. She's just a badass, you know? There's not really, you know, there's not really much of like, oh, I added her because of inclusivity. I'm like, no, it's just, that's just how I thought of it. And I thought it would fit well or so in the story. And I thought the way how I made her, so she's cool and sexy. So, you know, I don't know. That's just me though.
Required to navigate her role as a shinobi in a male-dominated world. This choice allows players to engage with a character who embodies courage and
I need
defiance.
a drink.
So just like Yasuke, they deliberately chose Naoe to be a woman only because of inclusivity within that time period. Their
Schrodinger's
words, not mine,
fiction.
by the
This
way.
thing is
I am just
non-fiction,
reading
but
you what it
we
says.
ignored
The
facts and
fact they
history, and
state
we
that she was
it's
chosen
called
solely
out
to
for
display her
for
courage and defiance
bullshit.
in a male-dominated
We
world
pulled
is
the
rich of
fiction
them
card.
too.
Yeah.
Because Japan was easily one of the most strict places in history when it came to laws and traditions. Disobeying such codes would immediately lead to self-deletion depending on the severity of the crime at hand. Naoe, also, according to what I could gather from research, would not have actually have been a shinobi likely at all during this period either. Apparently, and I could be wrong, so correct me, but from what I gathered, the term of a female shinobi, or as they're referred to as kunoichis, I'm probably saying that wrong, but they were
Kunoichi. Ko allegedly uses the so-called hentai meter to make characters. Shut the fuck up.
apparently fake, and they were only brought into Japanese pop culture during the last 100 years or so of our time. They were popularized by a book series known in Japan as Nimpocho by Yamada Futaro. I mean, it's pretty damning that every single piece of information I could find confirms that kunoichis did not exist at all. Even via Wikipedia for female shinobis, it says this. Recent research by Mia University historians Yuji Yamada, Katsuya Yashimaru, and others.
Of course there was no female ninjas. Of course not. Self-deletion? Why say it like that? Just say how it is, brother. Get my head chopped off. Also, Japanese military police are no joke. Yeah, that's true. Like, you have to be like low IQ if you actually think female ninjas actually existed in historicalness. Like, honestly.
Indicates that there are no historical records of the existence of female ninja who conducted reconnaissance and subversive activities in the same manner as their male counterparts. According to Yoshimaru, kunoichi came to mean female ninja in the creative works largely due to the influence of Futaro Yamada's Nimpocho series. During the Edo period, kunoichi was used as a cant term to refer to a woman and had no meaning for a female ninja. However, the term has very few examples of usage, mostly likely because the writing style at the time was not composed of the three strokes attributed to kunoichi. So sorry if I had to break this to you, but yeah, female ninjas never actually existed within Japan's history ever according to historical documents. They were, unfortunately, just popularized by Japanese novelist writers to make compelling stories.
And hentai artists.
And hey, I ain't gonna lie to you, I like the idea of a female ninja who uses her beauty to charm her targets. It's a good concept for a story.
That actually is a good concept story, and it has been happened or so in the past or so, where women use their beauty to lure men to their death, you know? That's a thing that happens in like quite a lot or so in South America, you know, with the cartels and everything. When the cartel leader is a female, they lure men or so to a trap, you know, to get rid of them, you know. That actually is a thing that actually happens. No female ninjas, my fiction cough cough, my reality is broken. Like, that's an actual thing that actually happens in South America, you know, so.
But unfortunately, no, it isn't real. And again, I'm not pushing that to play some sort of gotcha on anyone who likes the idea either. I too think it's a cool concept, but that's all
it still happens too as well.
This means that neither
they don't, well, I don't know what's the percentage so that they lure them to their death, but they do, like, the modern day version of it is they suck away money from simps. That's the new modern version, you know. If anything, a female ninja would literally be a brothel worker or a courtesan that fathers rumors and heresy from her line of work.
Yasuke nor Naoe are based on actual things that happened during the time period that they existed. Naoe would not have been a shinobi assassin at all during this time, even worse knowing that Ubisoft...
But I still think I still like the concept of a female ninja at the end of the day. I still like the concept of it. I think it's still pretty cool at the end of the day.
Of their way to make her the daughter of Fujibayashi.
Passport Bros falling for the female trap? Pretty much, yeah. Like, at the end of the day, that's pretty much it, you know? Like, yeah, like, if I do, like, you know, find love or so in another country, I have to be careful as well, you know, because I want someone who's correct for me, not someone who wants, you know, passport, you know?
Nagato, who was an actual real famous shinobi of that time, is, well, it's ridiculous. It's a very weird gray area, I know, cause had Ubisoft just made Naoe a hidden one, but she had no actual ties to shinobi or anything like that, and was, I don't know, trained outside of Japan or something, then I guess that gray area would work for her character to exist in this time period. But the problem is that Ubisoft took what was arguably one of the strictest countries in the world during a time where said laws were impossible to resist. And not only that, but also a time period where so much historical data is available that we know for a fact that these two main characters would not exist as they were depicted. Making Naoe a shinobi immediately makes her nothing but feminist fan fiction. and her character would have either likely been a farmer if real or something else. She would not have known how to wield those weapons.
You know how I would rewrite Naoe or so, right? Instead of Naoe being like, oh yeah, she, she learned the way of the ninja by her dad and whatnot, I think in my personal way would be that Naoe is just a normal girl, right? She's a normal girl. She's a beautiful, normal girl with like long hair and shit like that, right? And then, Yosuke or whoever, the male, I'll just say, the male Japanese samurai or so that I would replace for Yosuke, comes in and like terrorizes the village, burns it down or so, and all this other shit. And then that Japanese dude or so, the samurai that would replace Yosuke, killed her father, and she witnessed it and everything. And, or maybe the samurai, right? The Japanese samurai is trying to kill Naoe, and the father comes in and saves her, but unfortunately he dies and tells Naoe to run away. Run as fast as you can and go hide, And she does. And she runs and she manages to get away, and then later she was, she's trying to run to like the next village or something like that, or she's just trying to run away from the problems and everything, right? And let's just say, I'd say someone else finds her. She collapses in like a wooded area or so. She's like dehydrated, right? She's a young girl, right? She's like, a young girl or so. And someone would probably find her and rescue her. And you basically, she remembers, she's like kind of dead inside because her dad died and her village has been burnt down, and all of this other shit and everything. And then she finally goes through, she tries to learn on her own or so, trying to be, a ninja, or trying to find a way to like, kill, in silence, right? She learns while she's growing up or so, right? Like it's basically like the hood version of Japan, right? She grows up, she's having a difficult, growing up or so, and she kind of finds a way or so to, tries to, she finds a way to avenge her dad and everything like that, the killers, and she makes a vow or so, and she cuts off her hair and she has short hair now. And she decides to become, an assassin, I don't know. I would do something like that in my personal opinion, for Naoe as a, as a story piece character, if you want to add a female ninja, right? That's basically how I would do it. I don't know what you guys think, but I just created that right now, off the top of my head right now, so.
Or assassinate people or anything like that. And so now with added context, when you look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, you are seeing a deliberate double trouble misfire of characters that have zero business being anywhere close to
I don't know,
where
I think
they
it would be
are
more
or what they're
impactful,
even doing. So if anyone tries
it
to
gives more
disprove you in
character
the
to
future,
Naoe
just tell them that
instead of
female
like,
ninjas didn't exist
oh yeah,
at all.
we're putting
And then if they
her,
don't believe-
we're putting Naoe in because it's a male dominated, space about ninja, it's because it's mostly male dominated space of ninjas, just having just a kind of like a weird, just a weird virtue signal for Naoe, she doesn't feel like Naoe doesn't feel like a very well written character because the way how they're using her or female in general, right? The gender female in a very kind of like in a very bad way, I don't know. For me specifically, I would do something like that for Naoe if I had to rewrite Naoe as a character. That's how I would write her,
If you tell them to look up the Nimpocho series, which I can't even show you the cover of the book because it's kind of not safe for work or YouTube, but yeah, go look it up yourself. But this is what I was given on Ubisoft as of right now. They're lying to you about not only Yasuke, but also Naoe as well. Neither of these characters were implemented for any other reason than for inclusivity and diversity, as their own internal call script proves. It's not being pushed for historical accuracy reasons, it's not being done to honor Japanese culture or anything like that. They genuinely just looked at Japan and went,
I wonder where Bat is at, because Bat is Japanese. I want to know what Bat thinks about, my version of like rewriting Naoe. I don't know what you guys think, chat. You guys can let me know.
Going to make something so woke, so disingenuous, and then we're gonna use our heroes who are so diverse and pandering as social shields to protect us from our own agenda. And if anybody comes after us, we'll just call them bigots and racists because we gotta be inclusive at all costs. And that's why Ubisoft shares are tanking, their games are failing. I mean, even Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown's dev team allegedly got disbanded recently as well. I actually thought that game was decent fun, not amazing mind you, but fun at least. But it didn't sell well, and according to GameSpot, who broke the story, Lost Crown was going to have 2 expansions.
No, but I'm saying like my version of Naoe.
But Ubisoft
the way how
said
wrote,
no
I
to
wrote,
all
I
of
just
this and
explained
instead
right now.
decided to focus their efforts on what they deemed more profitable franchises.
Not the
So
Ubisoft,
again, like I always
my
say,
version, you know.
People who want the diversity in gaming, like always, they never show up to support the things that give them what they apparently want. Even when the games are objectively good and well made, like Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, they still don't put their money where their mouths are. How the hell are there so many defenders of the modern audience out there on the internet flooding my comment sections, calling me this name and that? Yet for the amount of you that are out there who hate on me for telling you these things, you guys always seem to prove me right and again like this. Please, for the love of God, I wish you guys cared about these franchises and games as much as you did when it came to hating on me. Maybe then you would have had a Lost Crown 2 or a sequel to Suicide Squad. Or I don't know, maybe Spider-Man 2 would have sold more than 50% of what the 2018 game did, which yeah, that's real too, by the way. But not only that, but Spider-Man 2 recently got announced that it'll have no story content planned. Even though in the original Insomniac leak that happened, like 3 expansions got leaked for it. And now none of them are happening. You wonder why? It's simple, because the game didn't make enough money to warrant the extra content like Lost Crown and more. I mean, Spider-Man 2 as of right now has sold equivalent to Miles Morales, which was not sold at full price and came out when the PS5 first released. And Spider-Man 2, which costed around $300 million as of that same Insomniac leak, meant that this game needed to sell like the 2018 game did to be profitable.
Yeah, but the problem is with the Spider-Man game, it was sold, you know, they were playing it safe. He's just going to talk about the Spider-Man thing. That's the end of the Ubisoft thing. But yeah, like I said specifically, right? Honestly, if they push the game to March or so, they'll probably have a little bit more better stance compared to February, because February is pretty packed with games. So, you know, yeah, they played it safe with Spider-Man. But honestly, like I said, right, that was just my, that was my tidbit of how I would rewrite Naoe. Instead of doing this weird virtue signal where they're just adding Naoe because it's a male-dominated space in the ninja universe, you know, she became a ninja. But I'm like, well, the way how I just rewrote Naoe is probably a little bit more better, to be honest, in my personal opinion, you know. What do you think, Dubstep? What do you think my version of Naoe? Do you like it? Do you hate it? I don't even know, to be honest. But like I said, anybody in the comment sections can let me know on YouTube or so about it, you know, what you guys think, you know. I always read the comment sections down below. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I kind of wanted to see a little bit about this, but you guys can let me know, you know, and damn. I wonder when they're well, it's a placeholder. So it's not confirmed yet. It's a placeholder. So it's still released. It's still, you know, on chart or so to release in February. But if the strike continues and all that other stuff that's been happening with Ubisoft, well, be prepared that it'll be delayed until March. So will they do better in March? I don't know. Only time will tell if they do it in March. But anyways, that's the end of the video. And yeah, like I said, let me have my own game studio, and I will show you guys how to make an actual real video game. And that's the end of the video. And peace.